everyone, and welcome to the Future Games Show live here at Gamescom 2024, Day 1, my friend. My name is Jules Gill, and I'm joined by the sexiest man wearing those shoes right there, Nathan Bloody Byrne.
No one told me I was coming to Gamescom. I just got a bag over the head, thrown into the back of a van, and here we are today. But I'm delighted, and I'll tell you why. Because we have got all sorts of coverage for you. We have got developer interviews, release updates, hands-on impressions, and of course, some sumptuous trailers that you can stick right in your eye sockets.
Indeed, we do, and of course, because we're running the show, I've gone mad with power immediately, and that's why my first game is Space Marine 2.
Oh, well, you're right, mate.
Yep, sorry, Dad.
Maybe a sec.
Hello, my name is Tim Willits. I am the Chief Creative Officer at Saber Interactive. Currently, we are working on the really awesome Space Marine 2, and I'm excited to be talking about this game today. The ultimate power fantasy is to be a Space Marine. And when you paint the miniatures and you play the tabletop, every person that plays that game fantasizes about being a Space Marine. In Space Marine 2, you now get to live that fantasy and to be a true Space Marine, and it is awesome. As you smash, crash, blow up, destroy thousands of Tyranids that stand in your way.
I am going to enjoy watching these Tyranids ride in the flames.
One of the things that Space Marine 2 does so well that makes you feel powerful but not invincible is you fight swarms and swarms of enemies. And with our proprietary technology, the Saber Swarm Engine, we are able to create these epic, large-scale war battles where you just unleash hell on just thousands of these Tyranids, with your chainsword, your hammer, your weapons. Having such a large, chaotic battle with different Tyranids and each of the different abilities of those Tyranids, definitely was a challenge for us. But we have this technology called AI Director. What the designers can do is they can lay out a combat situation where we bring in a horde, we have some of our enemies in the back that have projectile weapons at you, and then what the AI Director does is it's always looking at the battle. It's always looking at what you're doing. So it's looking at what your buddies are doing. Because remember, you can play this game with two of your friends, the whole thing. It's great. So it's looking at all three of you. It knows what's happening, and it will change the combat. Might send in more Tyranids in your face. May pull some guys back. Bring in some Tyranids that have projectiles. So it really keeps that pace up. This project is a passion project for our team. The team working on this project, led by our very talented game director, they love the world. And as you know, the Warhammer and the 40K universe, it's 100,000 years of awesomeness. There's so much to pull from, and there's so much to be inspired by. And fans of this universe, they want it all. They want it all. It is important, to create a game where you can deliver what the fans really want.
Take heart. The flame will stand against them better than any war.
Creating a story that fits into the Warhammer universe, which are sometimes a little complicated to follow, but to craft that story, but to hit on kind of major beats and true kind of good versus evil. As Titus, this planet is under attack. Got it. If you focus on these kind of core tropes, for lack of a better word, that people understand, but you have really kick-ass gameplay, you can kind of oh, I get it. I understand. Space Marine 1 was great. But if you have never played that game, don't stress about it. You can play Space Marine 2. We got you covered. You'll have a great time. PvP combat in Space Marine 2 was definitely a challenge because you're a badass Space Marine and you're fighting your friends who are badass Space Marines. But what really works well is the combat capabilities. You play the game, you know that there are different types of attacks. There's fast, there's slow, there's different weapons. You can block, you can dodge, you have your range. So because you have lots of tools in your combat toolbox to use, and you can create this kind of dance of combat with other humans. So it's not just, smash a button and then beat up, Tyranids. You really need to learn how to use the tools in your arsenal for combat, and that really played directly into how you play in multiplayer.
The traitors attack our terrain.
The guys working on the gory kills, they definitely had the most fun. I mean, sometimes you're just like tearing a guy in half, and then you look up and there's like 30 more Tyranids on you, and and the way that the game does it, like we let you have glory kill porn, for lack of a better word, but we adjust the AI, so everybody wastes their turn to get glory killed. It's great. It really is great, but it's so intense. I think important to mention is that we do this co-op. I mean, can you point to one action game that has glory kills that has co-op? No, that I can think of. I mean, the technology behind that and the design and how the AI director works and the animations and the multiplayer code, that is way more difficult than people realize. If you love the newest versions of Doom, you'll love Space Marine. I'm really excited for all of you to play Space Marine 2. It comes out September 9th, but if you pre-order the game, you'll be able to play 3 days early, so you can get a leg up on all your friends, and you can bring glory to the Emperor.
As you can tell, Tim and I were chatting quite heavily there, so a full interview is going to be going live on the FGS YouTube channel sometime next week. But Nathan, what's coming up next?
Coming up next, we had a sit-down chat with the developers of Nikoderiko, an upcoming mascot platformer that looks amazing. And can you believe that this is their first ever video game?
No, wait, that sounds great, but unfortunately I am going to have to bail quickly, because I have just overheard that they said if I go back, I'll be allowed to sniff the power armor. I can't miss it. I can't miss it.
Jules, you've already been given a warning. Come on!
Hello, my name is Dmitry Smirnov. I am the founder of the Game Studio. Also, I'm game director of Nikoderiko. Nikoderiko, it's a fast, dynamic, fun platformer, family-friendly, and it's about the mongooses. Nikoderiko and Luna, it's brave mongooses, friends, and treasure hunters. They're trying to steal their treasure that was stolen by Grimbold. I'm a big fan of classic platformers. I think that it will be great to make new level of platformers that will combine all the experience of existing platformers, and we have some of our features too, like a seamless transition between classic 2D platformers with third-person segments. We're working with David Weiss. It's a very known legendary composer. He wrote all the soundtrack for Nikoderiko, and also we inspired by a lot of great games and tried to make a bit arcade sound for a game. He loves Nikoderiko from the first concepts. He believed in us, and we very appreciate that he created such powerful soundtracks. This is our first platformer, so we decided to concentrate on the basic platformer features like nice jumping, nice feedback and other, but of course we should to decide what is our primary features. Yes, and we found that the playable friends, it's a very great thing. Each player in cooperative mode can summon the animal he loves and play with it. Also, the great idea, I think, we chosen to use this transition, seamless transition between classic 3D and third-person view. It was hard, but I think it's worth of it, because it helps to show our beautiful, vibrant world from different cameras. Also, it has the feeling of classic, the best ones, platformers with nice feedback and other things. So we mixed it, and I think it's very powerful. I think my favorite design is Nika. I love this guy. He's funny. Yeah. The second one is Luna, because Luna also funny. When I decided to make it more accessible for all the players, I have a baby, and I think I should make the game that will be accessible for them too. Because I love this type of games, but my kids can't play these hard games, or school games, and I decided to make a vibrant and accessible game. We're trying to achieve that kids can play this game, hardcore gamers can play this game, and it will be interesting for all of them. I think for me, co-op is something like party game. It should be accessible, it should be fun, most cases. So, but of course, if you're old school a hardcore gamer, you can choose a hard mode. When we developing the game, we're developing it firstly for the hard mode.
Yep.
And then we're trying to make it accessible for the players. The idea is to make something brand new, with something with great visual on high level. Inspiration titles are, of course, Donkey Kong, of course, Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Mario, Yoshi. We love this all, we're playing this all, but we're trying to make something different, something in style of Nikoderiko. We are targeting this October to have PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch release.
Big thank you to the folks making Nikoderiko there, but up next we've got something that's going to get you old school RPG fans all teary and sentimental, because it turns out the Gothic, the classic game, is getting a ground up remake. We spoke to the developers to see what it's like to remake a revolutionary game.
I'm Reinhard Police. I'm the game director at Alchemia Interactive, and we are the development studio behind the Gothic 1 Remake, which is an open-world RPG set in a medieval world. Gothic 1 Remake is a recreation of the 2001 classic open-world RPG Gothic. As the original, the focus is on offering a very sophisticated and detailed living world simulation. This means that all sorts of inhabitants of this world, be it creatures or human-like characters, have a very sophisticated daily routine that is unique and fits the needs, and actually something that you as a player understand and get a feeling for and will feel quite real. In this world, you're an anti-hero, so you're not the typical badass dude who comes into this world to save everything. You're a convict. The world plays in a prison colony, which is contributing a lot to the tension and the tough atmosphere the whole game world offers towards you. And it's gated by a magical barrier, and there's no way out. As the main character in this world, you actually stumble upon mysteries going on with a mysterious god that is set to return to the world and free everybody. And then there's other people who believe they can destroy this magical barrier by blowing up ore, which is the only real thing that is harvested there. The original Gothic was inspired back in the day by the classics in the RPG genre at the time. Ultima Underworld, the Elder Scrolls series, Fallout, The Witcher. Of the whole project, my favorite part is actually finding these ways of how we can expand the gameplay. The special thing about combat is the progression system that's attached to it. In a typical RPG, you would level up and then you go to some sort of menu and say like, oh, now I have got skill points, so let's give one skill point to, I don't know, one-handed weapons, right? In our game it's different. There is also a level up system, so you collect XP by beating up creatures, solving quests, doing things in the world, and at one point like you reach level up. But with a level up, you get learning points, and these learning points you actually need to find a teacher. So I think that's a really cool progression system which really ties it into this game world and roots it in there. The original already had a combat system that tried to replicate the movements of these combat things. What I think is pretty unique is that how you hold your weapon is basically dictated by the skill. So we released mostly game footage from the early game because we don't want to spoil late game stuff too much. And usually like people complain about, like even internally, like people are like, that combat looks clunky. And I'm like, yes, that's supposed to be clunky because I'm a nobody. I'm at the very base level. So how should I know how to hold a weapon? You will see over the progression how it gets better and changes. And at the end, I mean, eventually you'll be a badass fighter too. We also put in some surprises in here and secrets. So I'm really curious on like how people will experience those and also what they think about those. So that will be a really cool moment. Giving that in the hand of players for the first time will be really interesting to see, and like I'm very curious what people think and what they do actually with it. If you have the time to go for an RPG that offers more than 30 plus hours, then this is definitely something to check out for you. And if you are into open world RPGs, if you are into stuff like Zelda, I mean, very different game, but it has some elements also there about the exploration that I think are very comparable. or if you're kind of like a fan of games like Witcher, Fallout, The Other World, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with Gothic Remake. If this is exciting for you, be sure to follow us on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, or on Steam, and be sure to wishlist it. We'll be starting to reveal more and more information about the game and its background and how it's made. Be sure to follow us there.
Big thank you to the developers of Gothic there for the look at that remake. Now, I don't know where Jules is going, but he mumbled something about escalators and then ran away crying.
Stairs. I bloody hate them. They're bad for the knees, and apart from comedy pratfalls, they're bad for everything else. But luckily, I'm here at Gamescom, where they have these escalators. In fact, I love them so bloody much that I've invited a ton of my developer friends onto them to talk about their upcoming projects, but with the stipulation that they have to tell you everything you need to know about their video games in the time it takes to ride one of these majestic beasts. And all of this was made possible by the wonderful people over at DJI, who sent over this, the Osmo Pocket 3. So with this in mind, I'm Jules. This is Gamescom 2024. And you're watching the Escalator Pitch. Escalator Pitch 2024, I'm here with Jonas from Darkswarm, who's going to tell us everything about the game. Go!
Oh, okay.
What is Darkswarm?
Darkswarm is a top-down co-op shooter for 1 to 4 players. You are playing these pipe-printed mercenaries working for this Death on Demand corporation, and you're fighting the alien Darkswarm that's causing a lot of trouble.
Ooh.
You are playing in a lot of the procedural levels. There will be stealth and extraction elements, and we are sort of aiming for early access.
Well, fantastic stuff. Sometime soon, so keep your eyes peeled for Darkswarm.
You, a lord of England, must tame the land.
I'm here with Michael, who's going to tell us everything we need to know about Dino Lords.
Yeah.
What's the game about?
Dino Lords is an action real-time strategy game set in medieval England. You play as the British and you get attacked by Danes wielding fearsome dinosaurs.
See, that doesn't sound true to life historical.
No, that's
accuracy,
exactly what it was like in the history books, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
What are the main features of the game?
Oh, it's basically you play as the Lord and you build villages and fight the Danes.
And when's it coming out?
It's coming out next year.
Ooh. Escalator Pitch 2024, I'm here with Lydia, who's going to tell us everything about Scroll Away. Tell us about this game.
Okay, so Scroll Away is a cozy and light-hearted take on the survival crafting genre. You play as a squirrel, you live your best squirrel life, either by yourself or with friends. You can help out other animals in the park, you can build, you can craft, you can go fishing.
Oh, blimey. So going nuts across the board, and when is the game out?
The game is going to be out in early 2025.
I'm here with Kevin, who's going to explain us about everything to do with As We Descend. Tell us about this game.
As We Descend is a strategy roguelite deck builder where you don't just draft your cards, you draft your units as well. So you get to choose different units to bring into battle with you. So you get to do decks on decks. You get to choose which units and which cards they bring.
So strategy on strategy with card games on top of it.
Exactly, strategyception. Yeah, you gotta choose where to go. So there's so many options. This is a game about choices.
And when is this game coming out?
It will probably come out early next year.
He embarked into the Shadowlands on his own?
Shame will motivate a samurai more than glory.
I'm here, Escalator Pitch with Philip, and we're going to be talking about Shadow Veil. Tell us about this game.
Yes, so Shadow Veil is the first ever Legend of the Firebase game. It's a tabletop and a card game from the 90s that wanted to be revitalized by Asmodee. It's a strategy game which focuses on the kind of macro scale, which characters are you bringing, how are you building them, and really focusing on the kind of approachable aspect of the strategy game to be a stepping stone for the franchise and new players.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And when is Shadow Veil out?
Soon.
Ooh, mysterious.
Escalator Pitch 2024. I'm here with Carl, who's going to tell us everything you need to know about Songs of Conquest.
Yes, my name is Carl and I'm from Lava Potion. Songs of Conquest is an adventure strategy game where you control wielders who do mighty magic, drawing upon the essence of creatures and monsters to blow up their enemies.
Nice.
So you control a big map of interesting buildings that you actually build within the base. You can also play a campaign where you get to experience our world, and it's amazing. Play it now.
Incredible. Is it out now?
It sure is.
Ooh. I'm here with Joel, who's going to tell us everything you need to know about Goat Simulator Remastered.
Yeah, so Goat Simulator Remastered, the original one launched 10 years ago. We think it needs to get into players' hands again. So, yeah, you get the new one.
The thing is, everyone knows about Goat Simulator already, but remasters are bringing back all the new features and, I think you said, all of the same bugs.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. It's out in 2024, and that's been Escalator Pitch.
So, guys, thought that after beating Super Duper Fly, all was back to normal?
I'm here with Vince, who's going to tell you everything you need to know about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Unleashed.
It's a 3D action brawler. It's based straight off the success of the movie. A brand new story with loads of amazing new mutant characters that keep mutating all the way through the story.
They keep mutating?
Yeah, all the way through, and you get to adapt with new skills and loads of new powers for your turtle.
Amazing. And when is it coming out?
It's coming out October 18th on all platforms.
Oh, I can't wait. And that has been Escalator Pitch. Thank you to all the wonderful devs who took part in Escalator Pitch. We'll be back with more tomorrow.
Coming up next, we've got something for you VR aficionados as we get an exclusive look at Behemoth, the brand new title from the developers behind The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. And let me tell you, this one's something special.
Nice.
I would say it's one of the most incredible things that I've gotten to work on in my career. I think a lot of our team can say that because it feels very impossible. I'm Sean Kittleson. I'm the SVP of Creative at Skydance Interactive. Behemoth is an action-adventure game where you are Ren, an outsider who's come to the Forsaken Lands, this fallen kingdom that's just filled with bloodthirsty people and giant rampaging monsters called the Behemoths. Ren is afflicted with a curse, and Ren has come to the Forsaken Lands seeking a way to lift the curse by killing all 4 Behemoths. We want to be the game that anyone can pick up, whether it's their first hour in VR or their 10,000th hour in VR, and say, it just feels right. The team has all of this experience from The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners in VR, and found a real sweet spot with physics-based, motion-controlled combat. So instead of limiting ourselves to the inputs that you usually get, what if you had the infinite 360 wheel of your own your own arms, your own hands? And in many ways, it's like the game is an evolution that goes all the way back to the late 90s and an early Treyarch title called Die by the Sword. So Die by the Sword is legendary in PC gaming circles as a game that was so far ahead of its time that it could not be contained to any normal input method. The number pad on the keyboard was actually how you would dial in your attacks, and it was all physics based. So you would have to draw your right hand back to swing towards the left to get that real left stroke. You couldn't just hit left and then go whoosh. Relentlessly complicated, but brilliant in its time. One of the architects of that game, actually the lead on that game, was Dr. Peter Ackerman, who's one of the co-founders of our studio. So Peter Ackerman has been instrumental in the success of things like Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, but has also brought this spirit of, wow, I wish I could just swing a sword in any direction and dismember things with it. Wouldn't that be cool? If Die by the Sword 25, 26 years ago was so far ahead of its time because its inputs could not work with the technology available. Now we have the tech, and the tech is your own body, your own hands. And it turns out that it's incredibly satisfying to have this style of play, but it does demand a different kind of game design. Why? Because you're actually asking them to do something physically. You're asking people to burn calories, to move muscles, to get their joints going. In the world of The Walking Dead and in Saints and Sinners, one enemy is not really going to thwart you, even a human enemy. In Behemoth, you are afflicted with this curse that gives you some supernatural strength. The difference being that your enemies can kill you. One enemy can kill you in a few strokes. And you will get lethally proficient at taking down one enemy at a time, but then you'll face stronger enemies, you'll face multiple enemies. And in general, where you would need to face 16 walkers in The Walking Dead to feel genuinely threatened, 2 or more marauders in Behemoth are going to have you on your back foot. If you at all like Shadow of the Colossus, and you were ever like, I wish I could climb something like that in real life, like, come play this game. We got you covered. Yeah, so many folks on our team that put that game in their top 10. It's something that we saw as a response to, after we released the first cinematic trailer a couple of years ago, was, wow, if that's anything like Shadow of the Colossus in VR, that's what I've been looking for. I think that response really confirmed for the team their own instincts that, yeah, we love this game, other people love this game, and if we can make any experience like that in VR, we're really cooking with something. But it is not a Shadow of the Colossus game. It's Behemoth. It's its own game. This is much more of a mixed action adventure. So when you first see a Behemoth, you're not equipped, and you're going to look at it, you're going to say, there's no way that I can beat that thing. And then by the time that you reach it, you've had hours of practice with all of these new tools and skills, and you get back and you see it in a different light. You see, like, okay, you still look pretty tough, but I think I've got what it takes, and I'm going to go toe-to-toe with you. And that is so satisfying. So that's the journey of the game, is about hunting the behemoths down, battling and hacking and slashing your way through intense combat situations, solving all kinds of environmental puzzles, and getting into traversal challenges, really making use of your grappling hook to swing and zip and dash around the environment. And once you've got all of those pieces put together, you go into your behemoth fight, and you see if you can make all of that into a winning strategy. We've revealed the first behemoth, and we're ready to reveal our second behemoth. Dreadstag is the big one, and we want to show people just how big the game gets and just how big a behemoth gets, because Dreadstag is our skyscraper. You can see how he's sort of occluded or obscured a bit by cloud layer. If you're high enough up that you're at his torso, you're going above a cloud layer. It's just awesome. But you do have to ascend it, and the basic means of fighting behemoths is you have to find a way to either bring them to your level or ascend to their level and attack their weak points. And if you can find and attack enough weak points, you can bring them down. Grappling hook is a central feature of the game, and the grappling hook has all of these different applications. It can be used to solve different environmental challenges, so there are things that you can pull and rip with the grapple hook that will move things, whether that's levers or hold doors or something like that. You're able to zip and reel yourself and swing from posts that are all throughout the game. So early on, you start getting used to zipping up to posts and using them for quick ascent. Then you get used to using them to do controlled descent, very like Tom Cruise Mission Impossible, like dropping down into something like you're in a big heist. And then as you get further and further in, you get into some much more advanced things where you're zipping and leaping between posts, and there's no floor to catch you, and it's just you and you're swinging, and you're basically Indiana Jones or a Spider-Man at that point. The game is Skydance's Behemoth. It's going to be out on MetaQuest 2, MetaQuest 3, the PlayStation VR 2, and on PC via Steam and Oculus Rift Store. Everywhere that you get your VR, pretty much, you should be able to get Skydance's Behemoth. And it'll be out this fall.
I'd like to say a massive thank you to Skydance and a massive goodbye to my family when Behemoth comes out very, very soon.
Honestly, that game looks absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately, Nathan, we're going to have to get a bit of a step on for our next entry because we're going to be talking about DeathSprint 66, and you and some of the other FGS team members have actually played this game and are here to talk more about it.
Thanks, Jules. I'm here with Matt and James, and we were lucky enough, the three of us, to play DeathSprint 66. Well, what did we think? What were our thoughts?
It's a very strange kind of game because obviously it's a racing game, but like instead of a kart, you've got some very fancy trainers.
Felt like it was almost a mix between Mario Kart and Mirror's Edge.
Sure.
Like it kind of had that feeling of like free running and kind of getting in that flow state.
But yeah, like it's super interesting to see somebody taking a new swing at the karting genre.
Yeah.
Like it is a kart racer, but without any of the carts. The kind of base of this game is the competitive PvP nature.
Yeah.
And kart racing can be frustrating. And then this game has all of those elements, right? It's got its own version of a bullet bill. It's got its own version of red shells and blue shells. But you're moving at such a pace that it's just absolutely chaotic.
Yeah.
And it can be really difficult to figure out what's going on.
And the AI is really good.
Mines. The AI love mines.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow they're getting them all the time. And the course becomes, like, by the third or fourth lap of a course, it's mostly mines. It's absolutely insane.
One thing I say that I did think was a real positive aspect and does have me quite excited to play more is I think when I was playing it first, I was dying a lot, I was hitting the traps, I was hitting the mines. But then as time went on, I do feel like my skill with it was becoming better.
For sure.
I was having more fun the more I played it, which I think is a good sign, even though this is like
I definitely agree. Like, I want to play more.
Well, one thing to point out is that it isn't just running. There are handrails you can jump on, there are and also grind rails. You can swing this way, you can ride on top. There are meat threshers, and there's obviously there is the slalom bit you mentioned. You run on walls, you can drift into the wall. You can run onto the wall, you can put a mine on just before the wall starts so people die and explode at the beginning of that and you cause chaos. So a lot of it really was kind of FPS style, the final style placement. It was like learning where am I going to cause this mayhem, this jeopardy.
We saw a very early build. If you were to play more, what would you want to see?
I'd love it if they went from 8 players to like 16 or 24 and just had a mode. Like, imagine like NASCAR with just a big circle. With moving tracks. I'd be a big fan of that. I know I was seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger themed Running Man skin.
Of course. I mean, that's what you say about every game, though.
I'll be back. The story of it is they are clones, and it's in a dystopian, the world's kind of gone on its arse, and megacorps are buying up like horrible slum areas and then going, now everyone's going to run here together. So I would hope that as you play, you develop more of that story. And maybe even find a way to, maybe have like a sort of Evangelion moment where like your clone finds all the ones who died before and realizes what they're in for and maybe tries to escape, sort of Logan's Run style. What about you, Matt? What would you like to see?
I would like... So there's a moment where you line up for the tracks and it's like somebody's talking in your ear. I want more of that. I want like a pit crew telling me, reminding me, hey, you've got this weapon ready to go, or hey, you've got a weapon targeted at you, or something. Because you're moving so quickly when you start getting used to the game and you're drifting and you're using the speed boost and all this stuff. It can be really chaotic and it can be difficult to remember exactly what's going on. Now look, as you play the game more and that all becomes second nature, but if I'm playing on my own, I'm trying to get used to the game, I think like having the voice of God reminding you of all these things that are happening and like helping you out could be really helpful. So I'd like to see that.
So I'd be interested to see, how do tracks evolve? How do they keep themselves fresh, but allow you to kind of use the skills that you're mastering? And also, are we going to get more abilities? Will there be like different moves that your character can do the more you play it? So that's what I'd love to see, and I kind of think that there's definitely space for that. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
I mean, surely they will change the spawning above traps. I did feel like that was the sort of thing.
You can jump in the air though, so maybe the respawn was probably more dangerous than actually just the first death, because when they run into you, they send you flying. People will knock you. Even at the start, if you don't time the start right, you just get straight over.
Yeah, for sure.
Which makes it quite fun, and immediately you start with like, all right, I'm gonna get that guy, which is good, For a game called DeathSprint, you should want to kill somebody. I just realised what we forgot to mention. So there's customization, right? You can make your character look fantastic, but if you die too many times, you get a crash test dummy skin. Which doesn't change how you play. You just look awful.
You just look terrible. I know. I got that too many times.
Oh yeah, every race. Every single race.
I low-key kind of liked it.
Well, that was DeathSprint 66. Thank you very much for chatting to me about it. And next up, it's more of me, unluckily, and I'm chatting to the developers of Ctrl Alt Deal, a game in which you play an AI trying to escape the clutches of a mega corporation.
I'm Amber Scott from Only by Midnight. We're a small indie studio based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. My technical title is Interactive Director, but I just call myself a writer. In Ctrl Alt Deal, you play a rogue AI who's become sentient, and you're trying to escape from the world's worst megacorp. It's a horrible place to work. Everyone here hates it. So maybe if you work together with these miserable, sad humans, you can work together and find a way to escape from Paperclip. We came up with the idea a couple of years ago, and it was actually after a bunch of business meetings that we had. And going to conventions and talking to people in the industry, we learned that the people that we had to talk to weren't necessarily the people we wanted to talk to. If we wanted to, pitch a game to a CEO, we would never start out by just calling up, the head of the company. We would maybe look for a friend who knew somebody there who could get us some time on his calendar. And it was all a series of transactions, little negotiations that led up to a big thing. In speculative fiction, there's a time-honored sort of method of looking at human conditions, which is to use a non-human protagonist. If you think of, Data from Star Trek or something like that. So we thought, hey, let's have a sentient AI, like a computer program, become self-aware in this company, and it's sort of trying to understand human behavior while also making deals with the humans at the same time. At its core, it's really just about a sort of a lost and lonely, new consciousness that doesn't really know what its place is in the world and is trying to understand humans so that it can get out and find its destiny. In terms of gameplay, it's tricky. We call it a turn-based strategy game set inside a simulation game. So a lot of turn-based strategy mechanics and deck builder mechanics you use to actually take actions. You play cards in order to affect the humans around you. In Ctrl Alt Deal, we say what's more valuable, a card that makes someone love dolphins or a card that makes you eat a burrito. It depends on what the goal of the scenario is, what your strategy is, what you're trying to accomplish. And then in between turns, the humans in the office go about their business. They have a model that responds to needs kind of like The Sims. So if they get hungry, they might go to the kitchen and eat. If they're tired, they might sneak into the break room and take a nap. We try really hard to reward lateral thinking in the game. There's always a balance between creating content that only like 5% of your players are going to see, but also rewarding ingenuity when people try and do cool things in your game. And I think we lean a little bit more towards rewarding, experimentation and cool things. Narratively, we were very much inspired by games that look at, sad dystopian things in the world, but try to lighten them up a little bit so that you can have fun while kind of engaging with the material. Papers, Please is a big inspiration for me. It's one of my favorite games. I want people to really get to understand the world that we've created and feel an affinity to Scout. That's our little AI protagonist. And feel like they've just been in another world where they could have a good time. And I would also like to make $1 million if the universe is listening. It's not like anything else out there. You're going to have a really fun time experimenting and exploring this unique kind of deck builder mechanic. You'll get to spend time in a dystopian, futuristic cyberpunk world, but one that's like a sad office instead of kind of your typical cyberpunk setting, with these gorgeous visuals that our company is really about making games that look beautiful. We call Ctrl Alt Deal's aesthetic neon blacklight bowling alley. That was like our initial one-line encapsulation of our art style. In games or media where a robot or an artificial intelligence becomes self-aware, it usually goes like the Skynet route. That's a bad thing for humans. And in this, we're like, what if the AI just doesn't really like humans? Like, humans are kind of scary and weird. It just wants to go away and find its freedom. So we really tried to come up with an interface where it was like you are kind of looking down on this dollhouse almost office. You're watching these little people and you're manipulating them with your little cards, but you can't actually do anything. You don't have a body, and it gives it a really nice kind of top-down view, like you are kind of looking through a security camera at these little humans going about their business. So yeah, you're gonna have some great music, some great art, some unique gameplay, and hopefully enjoy a really cool and different story when you play Ctrl Alt Deal. I'd say if you love Papers, Please, if you love the Stanley Parable, if you like the humor of Portal, If you like the somewhat subjective, I guess, card-based decision-making of a game like Cultist Simulator, then you would probably like Ctrl Alt Deal. We're aiming to release in early 2025. We'll be releasing on PC and console, including PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch.
Let's take a step away from AI into the much cozier, comfier subject of Eldritch Horror with worshippers of Cthulhu. And oh, Mum, you didn't tell me you were coming to Gamescom. Mum, what are you doing here?
Peggy 18.
And it was Eldritch Horror, it's just adorable.
I mean, yeah, kind of. I guess it kind of makes me feel like I'm missing my cats back home.
Yeah, they don't miss you.
Ouch. And also, yeah, the only reason they remind me of that is because their litter box is a nightmare. But anyway, let's talk about other cuddly critters by talking about a cozy creature-catching title known as Critter Café.
Critter Café is a wholesome game that's all about finding and rescuing fantasy creatures known as critters and building a cozy home with them in your rescue cafe. I'm Eleanor Gregory. I'm a gameplay programmer at Sumo Newcastle, but I'm also the original creator of our game Critter Café because it started as my game jam project and has evolved into a full game since. So you'll be solving puzzles to find your way to critters, you'll be renovating your space, running your cafe, and bonding with your critters. When I was putting together the original concept, it was something that was very much inspired by my own long-time love for fantasy creatures and also, personal good memories from visiting animal cafes. In terms of inspiration for actual games, there are some big classics like the vibes and customization of Animal Crossing, but I've also always been a huge wholesome games fan, especially fantasy creatures and cozy settings, so something like Cat Cafe Manager or Ooblets as well. At the beginning of the game, the player is introduced to this cafe space that they've taken the plunge and moved to set up with their friends. So they'll, enter the cafe space they're refurbishing, get to grips with a couple of the activities that we're doing in there before they have this chance encounter with this mysterious rift that they make their way through to find a critter trapped at the other end. So they rescue this critter, and this starts their journey of going out into the world, finding more of these rifts, and rescuing more critters to welcome back into the cafe. When you are rescuing a critter, you'll enter this space that we're calling a rift, and you'll be solving environmental puzzles and overcoming challenges to find your way through this rift to the critter that's trapped on the other side. So you'll be interacting with environmental puzzle elements like pushing blocks around or activating switches, and you'll also have a handful of magical tools that will help you overcome these obstacles as well. When you find and rescue a critter, we say you welcome them into your cafe family. So they'll bring them back to the cafe and you're building a cozy home there. So it's not like you're, recruiting staff for your cafe, but you're bringing these critters back to a cozy home and they can help you in the cafe, but it's very much you're making bonds with them, you're raising their happiness and they're helping you out in the cafe. We have 35 critters that are in the game. They have a range of inspirations, so some are our own fantasy takes on real-world animals, and then some are based on more mythical or fantasy creatures such as a dragon or a phoenix, for example. And it was very fun, coming up with this range of critters across these different types and, seeing what we could put together. I think one of my favorite things to show off has always been so far our customization options. So we have a lot of player customization, and obviously the player is refurbishing a cafe space as well. So, they have different aesthetics there. And I always really just love going into the menus of both of them and sort of flicking through all these, bright or colorful or fantasy styles and aesthetics that we have, because it's just always really fun to see, what people really like to see in themselves or see in the space that they're setting up. So with our player characters, with our customization options, all of them are genderless. So you're not going to be locked in or out of any particular option based on that. All of our customization options for the player are going to be available to you to customize your avatar with. To me, wholesome games have always been defined as lower stakes escapism, so games that provide a feeling of comfort and compassion. So I think for me, if Critter Café can feel like a warm space for a player to come and settle into, then that would be a success to me. Critter Café will be releasing later this year on PC and Switch, and the best way to keep up to date with the game is giving us a wishlist.
That was utterly adorable, and that was indeed Critter Café. And now we're going to be talking about another animalistic title, which is kind of like if SSX Tricky smashed into a zoo. I'm speaking, of course, about Slopecrashers. Friends, was Slopecrashers, and there's a demo for the game out right now that you can try for yourself. Now, the next segment that we're going to be moving into right now had me feeling like there was a bit of gimmick infringement going on, and maybe I should be reaching for the lawyers that I keep on retainer, because we're going to be talking with a load of indie developers about their games, but they're going to be riding an elevator? And I only know escalators. What's this malarkey about? Well, I guess what it is indie elevator pitch.
Hi, I'm Jiro Zucchini, and together with Chariot Spiral, we are developing Solcesto. Solcesto is a unique tactical roguelite where the goal is to reach the bottom of a dungeon. Each floor consists of a 4x4 grid. You can select any horizontal line of the grid, but not the exact cell you will land on. In Solcesto, mastering chance is key. You'll discover powerful items, unique powers for each character, magic teeth that alter probabilities, and many other tools. Solcesto will launch later this year, and the demo is available on Steam.
In our party brawler game, you control both of your hands individually, like this. You use them to force your friends off the map. Last goblin standing wins. You can also climb on things, throw punches, swing from ropes, throw explosive crates, slingshot yourself with your stretchy arms, shoot a laser beam gun, fly a sticky rocket, and even combine items into weapons of mass destruction. Our game is called Oblin Party. Add it to your wishlist on Steam now.
I'm Phil from Kaizen Gameworks, and this is Promise Mascot Agency. You need to build a mascot agency, but to do that you're going to need mascots, like Tofu. But he's just one of many you can recruit. Send your mascots on jobs to make money, but sometimes disaster strikes. This normal-sized door is too much for Tofu. You need to send in help. But what about flames? Faulty vending machines? Or playful dogs? You can help your mascots by recruiting heroes as you explore the open world of the cursed town of Casamachi. You play as Michi, an exiled Yakuza seeking redemption. But you're not on your own, Pinky is here to help. She'll guide you as you rebuild the Promise Mascot Agency. Wishlist now on your platform of choice.
Hi, my name is Jennifer and I'm the lead developer of Love Ghosty, a game where you play as a ghost matchmaker. The fates of 12 residents are in your hands, as it is your job to set them up and help them find love. Get to know your residents by giving them gifts or reading through their diaries. Set them up on not-so-secret dates and watch their love bloom. In Love Ghosty, you can pair up any couple you like, as every resident can be paired with any other resident. There are 60+ combinations of couples to discover, each with their own unique storyline. How will love blossom in your manner? Love Ghosty is set to release on Steam in Q3 2024.
What happens when a bunch of game developers go to Japan and get hopelessly addicted to claw machines? Well, they go back home and make a game about claw machines, of course. Hi, we're Straightpoint Studio, and we're currently working on Dungeon Crawler, a roguelike deck-building game where you fight with a claw machine. Help our out-of-luck protagonist Sir Banalot on his great quest for vengeance. Collect different items from the claw machine to fight your way through the dungeon's various enemies and ultimately face the evil dungeon lord. You can also expand your deck, unlock unique perks, upgrade items, and even play mini-games. So get your claw ready and wishlist Dungeon Crawler on Steam.
This is Lena. Lena is tired of being the hero in video games. Tired of killing gods. Also tired of farming. She would much rather be a merchant who makes wares for coin. One day, Lena decided to make a video game where she can be the NPC. In this game, you can craft jewelry in your own shop. Smith weapons and armor. Be a cat or a moth if you like. Scavenge materials. Meet a wide cast of characters.
Hello?
And romance. Craft. You'll know there are actual crafting systems because there are 2 crafts in the title. 1 wishlist on Steam equals 1 dopamine for developers. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you something, all of those games have taken the escalator straight onto my wish list. But now, Jules, I've got 3 words for you.
Whoa, okay. I don't need to use such harsh language, mate. I know that I can be annoying sometimes, but don't swear in front of people.
No. Look, HR spoke to me about that. No, I'm talking about 3 different words. I'm talking about Orcs Must Die. Because we had a chance to have a sit-down interview with the developers about the brand new entry in this much-loved franchise.
Right, okay, so you weren't actually trying to say...
No.
I am Kyle from Robot Entertainment, and I'm the game director on Orcs Must Die Death Trap. The biggest number one thing that our fans have been asking for is 4-player co-op. So Death Trap is the first time in the franchise's history that you can play this game with a team of 4 war mages. It's still completely playable as a solo player. With new people, I would say that this is a unique take on 4-player co-op shooters that takes a little bit more communication, a little bit more cooperation. It's different every time that you play it, and there's so much decision making along the way. It takes a lot of creativity and you have a lot of options. So it's what traps do you bring? What hero do you play? How do you adjust based on which hero and traps your teammates chose? Which mission do you select, which has those randomized challenges attached to it? So it's just these constant decisions that you have to make. It takes a little more active thinking to get through a run of Orcs Must Die. That just makes it more fun and exciting, and really feels like you're part of a team while you're doing that. Your job is to place traps like spike traps and flip traps to stop hundreds of orcs from entering the rift. But you actually do that from the unique perspective of a character. So you're playing from a third-person camera perspective. So while you have these traps to stop the orcs, you also have your own arsenal of weapons and abilities across 4 games in the franchise. Had 12 million players, leading up to the 5th entry, which is Orcs Must Die Death Trap. Orcs Must Die takes place in a world where these rifts that you're protecting provide the magic that allows the societies to flourish in this world. So that allows, the crops to grow, it allows people to cast spells, it allows people to cook and live their lives, but they also function as teleports between different realms and different worlds. And the orcs, who are just pillagers, they use these rifts to get from town to town and burn them down. So you play as a war mage of an organization called the Order, and your job is to defend these rifts from orc attacks. You know, I started as a playtester. Everyone on my design team has been there since at least 2015. So starting as players and fans, right? So, you know, we've played thousands upon thousands of hours of Orcs Must Die. We know, we're constantly thinking about orcs and where to take it and what makes it fun. Some of the other changes that players have been asking for that we're implementing are we have unique heroes with their own sets of abilities. They have their own unique trap. They have their own personality and voiceover, which we've been putting in recently. We do have, for the first time, something I'm excited about is a sniper character. And part of his gimmick is his unique trap is a grav lift that can lift him up into air to give him, you know, that perspective so he can see orcs far away and pop their heads off. And so we'll have 7 heroes at launch. You know, we've been a little cheeky about it, but one of those 7 is Maximilian, our main man, Maximilian. So if you're a fan of the series, he will be there.
Orcs Must Die.
There's a large change in the structure of Orcs Must Die Death Trap compared to previous games, and one of the reasons it's called Death Trap and not Orcs Must Die 4 is it doesn't feature a straight linear campaign. We wanted to introduce more variety, and so every time you play, you're choosing random maps that have challenges attached to them that we call distortions. There's dozens of those distortions that can be added to maps and add an extra challenge. Between waves, you're offered boons, which we call threads that augment your abilities and your traps, and we have over 500 of those in the game. And then the levels themselves can be varied as well. You might come into a level you've played before, but this time it's raining and that spawns different types of enemies. Or this time it's nighttime and now skeletons are spawning. Gunfire Reborn was a big inspiration for us. Risk of Rain 2, co-op shooters like Deep Rock Galactic, both for the rogue elements and for such awesome feeling combat like Hades were things that we were playing too. We had a game that you can no longer play called Orcs Must Die Unchained that has a very vocal fan base. That's where I started my career, was on Orcs Must Die Unchained, and so I wanted to make sure that we do have references. Having Max in the game as a playable hero obviously is something that I hope fans are excited about. It's all references to the history of the series and Max's history of killing orcs. There is now infinite time between waves. We've gotten rid of the idea of the time pressure, so I wanted to give players as much time as they needed, especially in 4-player co-op, which calls for more communication between players, that they were never in a rush to get their traps down and plan what they wanted to do. And we have these larger maps too, so it takes a little bit more time to figure out what you want to do, especially when they're changing every time that you play them. The game is peer-to-peer, so it will be up forever. Fans never have to worry about the game coming offline. If you love Deep Rock Galactic, Risk of Rain 2, Gunfire Reborn, then you will love Orcs Must Die Death Trap.
Okay, time to wrap this up.
Orcs Must Die Death Trap releases Q1 2025 on Steam, the Epic Games Store, and Xbox platforms.
That was Orcs Must Die Death Trap, coming to PC and Xbox Series S and X later this year. But up next, we've got something quite exciting. It's the very first interview with the developers behind brand new game Band of Crusaders. What do you think about that, big man? Eh? Quite exciting? Honestly, ever since you've done those films, you've become such a diva. Impossible to please.
I oftentimes joke that you can hit slow motion in our game and go to a kitchen, make yourself a tea, return back, and the action on your screen would not change that much on your battlefield.
My name is Dominik Sypnicki, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Virtual Alchemy.
My name is Kamil. I'm a co-founder of Orcs Virtual Alchemy, and for the project Band of Crusaders, I play a role of an art director.
In our game, you start with a small party of, you can say, low-level characters, and throughout the game, you want and are able to progress your party. You can progress your party through multiple ways. The most obvious one, you can expand the party, which in our game is wrapped around expanding your camp and being able to recruit and host more Crusaders. You can progress by taking on abilities that allow you to take more Crusaders into the combat. So take bigger parties into the combat. You can level up your Crusaders based on stats and abilities. Abilities in our game are skills, quite unique ones, and they are attached to the weapon style, not necessarily to character class.
Our game is meant to be unforgiving. We want to go for this direction. For example, we have permadeath. If your character dies on the battlefield, like, he's gone forever. We are aware that we do not make a game for everybody. And actually one advantage that we have that might widen our audience a bit is the fact that we pick certain tropes from various beloved RPG, strategy, like tactical games, and smash them together to create this cocktail that could potentially appeal to multiple niches, but still there are niches within specific genre. We are really dedicated to meet expectations of our core audience first and foremost.
Our most direct reference games are War Tales, Battle Brothers, and Mount & Blade series. We are inspired by these games, engaging core loops and meta progression that allows for a satisfactory long endgame. And what is also important for us, these games support a lot of experimentation, and this is how our game also wants to be. What our game also has in common with these is the multi-layered game structure. So we have a campaign map that focuses on rather strategic decisions. We have also a camp that supports management decisions. And in addition to that, we have a mission layer that offers the player with combat encounters as well as exploration opportunities.
I would add some sentiments from gaming landscape, pointing at games like Dragon Age Origins, Knights of the Old Republic, Pillars of Eternity, of course, and also older ones, let's say Neverwinter Nights or even Baldur's Gate 2. And why I bring those things? Because we have combat system similarities. And as they were those RTP games where if you hit space, your time stops, although it's like real-time combat apart from that. We took twist on that, and if you hit space in Band of Crusaders, our game, time actually slows down. So the action is always there. It's like keeping you on your toes, but not to a degree that you have hard time like managing and making decisions because, you know, the time is short. I oftentimes joke that you can even hit, you know, slow motion in our game and go to a kitchen, make yourself a tea, return back, and the action on your screen would not change that much like on your battlefield.
One particular thing about our game world is that it is dynamic. It is influenced by a demonic invasion that is taking place as the game progresses, and you can imagine as if you found yourself on the medieval map of Europe 1350 and suddenly those biblical creatures start threatening the world you know.
We wanted to see what the world of The Witcher would look like if you remove all the Witchers and magic, and actually being able to see like historical setting instead of like just the world of fiction. Also, we have this internal slogan in the studio that there is no fireball in the game, and it really isn't. So as far as we can go, like with magical stuff, you can, for example, throw like a flask of flammable substance on the battlefield, right? And maybe you'll see some supernatural accents and twists among your enemies, right? Cultists and abominations. And this is as far as we go. We really like to emphasize low fantasy aspect of the game.
We believe that players who like War Tales, Battle Brothers and Mount & Blade would love and appreciate our game. However, also want to open up this demographic a bit broader. So we believe that players who enjoyed Witcher and like tactical experiences can also appreciate our game.
Band of Crusaders was just announced this month. So there is a long ride ahead of us. But I invite you guys to check our social media and Discord because we are planning to develop this game forward together with community, hopefully, if you guys are kind enough to express your interest. And we are cooking some ideas on how to do this. So wishlist us on Steam, it means a lot, and, you know, be on the lookout for the future updates.
That, my friends, was Band of Crusaders, and it sure looks like it's going to scratch that strategy gaming itch.
My itch requires a doctor's note.
Oh, why did you have to say that, man? That's absolutely disgusting. In fact, I wish that I had the powers that are going to be shown off in the next game we're going to be talking about, Voidwrought, because I wish I could just go to another timeline entirely to forget what you've just said.
We had a chat with the devs about this frantic platformer and how it might just be Voidwrought's time to shrine.
I get it.
I don't know, man. I don't think that worked. I hate puns.
It's because it's got shrines in.
My name is Martin Johnson. I'm a game designer, and this is Voidwrought, a 2D platformer Metroidvania. 2D animations are handcrafted, frame by frame. We're using puppet animation at certain bosses, but most of the stuff is hand-animated, hand-drawn. It's leaning more towards old school Metroidvania, so we're not having any corpse runs or Souls-like elements. It's, yeah, you save at this room, you die, and then you respawn. But you keep all your stuff. You explore an old civilization, dead civilization, and you're trying to figure out what happened to it. And there are certain cosmic horror angles to the whole theme of the game, but not on the nose. So if you would like to delve deeper and try to find out what happened to the whole place, you can, but it's not necessary or mandatory. The player character will hatch from an egg and be inside a structure of sorts and break out. Try to figure out her surroundings and delve deep into this complex. It's very hard to not see Hollow Knight when you look at our game at first glance. For me, my inspirations mostly stem from Super Metroid or the old Igavanias, like Symphony of the Night and such. We don't have any leveling system, but we still want to, as I said, lean into the more old school style of Metroidvanias rather than the new ones. We don't have any like combos in the combat system, for instance, and stuff like that. We want to alleviate the old pains of older game design. So as I said before, when you die, sure, you respawn at the last save room, but we're still let you keep like all your stuff. The map you've explored is still explored, for instance. We try to be as forgiving as we can, but there are of course branching paths. There is a golden path, if you will, that we expect the first time players to take, but it's not really mandatory. Overall, the feedback has been great, I think. We're really pleased. I really think if you like Hollow Knight, you're gonna like our game. I think it's more forgiving, it's not as hard, and as I said, we try to lean into the more old school aspects of Metroidvanias. It's not very similar to Super Metroid, but we're kind of striving to get the same sense of immersion. There are lots of nods to other games. We poured so much love into this game, it's hard to understate. And I mean, we're only 3 people as well. I wish we were more people on the team, but yeah, it's been a long journey, and we have hope that it's going to be received well. Voidwrought is coming to Switch, Epic, and Steam. Yeah, it's going to be out later this year. If you want to try the game, you can do it. Right now, it's a public demo out on Steam.
That was Voidwrought, and guess what? It's got a demo out that you can download right now. But word to the wise, you better bring your A game. It's a hard one.
Indeed. Now, we go from a game talking about building shrines to gods to a video game where God has just straight up abandoned everyone. How bloody cheery. As we talk about Into the Dead Our Darkest Days, a zombie survival title that is, for lack of a better word, intense.
My name is Julian Lum. I'm a senior product manager.
My name is James Bodner. I'm a senior game designer on Into the Dead Our Darkest Days. Into the Dead Our Darkest Days is a side-scrolling zombie survival game where the player controls a group of survivors in a doomed city in 1980s Texas. The gameplay is split between 2 elements: looking after the survivors in the shelter, and then it is going out into the city and scavenging.
It's about a group of survivors who've managed to escape the initial onslaught by hiding somewhere. When the game begins, you start with them poking their head out, wondering what's happened to the city after the initial outbreak, and realizing that they are now living in a new reality. So your goal is to get them to scavenge for resources, craft what they need, and figure out a plan to escape a current situation.
We were looking at what other stories we could tell in this universe, and one of the inspirations was 1970s, 1980s horror films, trying to recreate that vibe in a side-scrolling survival horror game. That, along with plenty of other zombie games that we all love on the team. I think what makes Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days unique is it really brings together a number of elements into one game. First off is that you are just ordinary survivors, ordinary people. You're not a highly trained military operative dropped into a war zone. These are people that had normal jobs, normal lives, and are thrown into the chaos of a zombie apocalypse. Tied in with this is that this is very recent to when the zombie apocalypse breaks out. This is not 10 years, 20 years after when people have become used to the misery of a zombie game. This is fresh and raw for these survivors. So really diving into that story, diving into each person's experience in that is what really is going to make this game stand out.
If you like games like Project Zomboid, The Last of Us is one of mine as well, State of Decay, anything that's in the survival genre, but if you also like it to be challenging and punishing, as opposed for it to just be like a easy walk in the park, then I think you would like our game.
So the zombies for Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days, we wanted to try and make them feel a little different from what you might find in other games. These aren't your normal zombies that are just completely brain dead and will only just run straight at you. The word that came up again and again in production was empathetic. We wanted to show the humanity of these zombies. We wanted to show that these were regular people that have been torn away from their normal life and into this sad situation. So as the player goes through this world, they're going to find zombies mourning their past lives. Maybe a hand on a photograph of their old family, hugging together to feel touch of another creature. And another thing that we want to create is really the sense of almost like a group that they belong to. And this reacts to the player. So if they kill a zombie and then another one walks along and finds their corpse, they will mourn them. And then they're going to call out and try and find the person that did this. It's up to the player to decide how they want to approach the situation. The ultimate goal of Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days is to escape. This is optional, you could argue, but really the city is getting more dangerous, the resources are running out, and the player, if they want their survivors to survive, they need to escape. Now there's many different ways that they can get out of Walton City using the plan system in our game.
So plans are a feature where we essentially provide escape plans for the survivor to take on. We want the player to be able to play the game their way, and so we want you to make decisions. So a lot of it's inspired about like, oh, if I were in a zombie apocalypse, what would I be doing? And so plans are an optional feature that you can choose to do. So if you find out about, the military are evacuating people at this point, but they're going to leave in like a week. So you could choose to travel in that direction and try to find out more about that plan. Or you could go like, there might be some boats in the marina, and so maybe that's an option for us. So there'll be things that we want the player to discover over time, for there to be some breadcrumbs that the player can kind of grab on and follow if they choose to.
Into the Dead: Our Darkest Days has a public demo coming out on Steam in October. So the best way to know about that and when that's live is to wishlist us and to know about all the upcoming updates for this game.
Thank you very much to the devs over at Pickpock for shedding some light on their very dark game. Now, we're going to keep the action high right now because we're going to be talking about Starship Troopers Extermination and how I was lucky enough to speak to the one and only Casper Van Dien, aka Johnny Rico.
We've just landed here at Gamescom 2024. It's an ugly planet. Sorry, Germany. It's a bug planet. Get out of here now!
I'm Casper Van Dien, and you might know me as Johnny Rico in Starship Troopers, and now you'll know me as General Johnny Rico in Starship Troopers Extermination, where we're gonna kill some bugs! Join now. You know what to do.
Starship Troopers as a franchise is receiving such a resurgence in popularity because, obviously, of the huge success of the game coming out here.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you? Because you were there from the beginning, boots on the ground, and now you're a bloody general. Like...
So, well, let me tell you that is funny that you're saying that, because when Starship Troopers, when we first saw it, before it went to the screening, and we were at Sony, and they gave us a private screening of it, I went, you guys have to make a game. And they go, Casper. Well, I don't know, you guys have to make a game. This would be the coolest game. I mean, I just watched it. Because when I was fighting, when I was killing those bugs out there, we were fighting against dirt. Nothing was there. There was just all, dirt. So when I got to play the game the first time, when I went up to Canada and met all the people that made this, which they're all huge Starship Troopers fans, which was such a benefit. It just, they were all so like, oh my God, they were so excited. And so I had the best time with them. But I started playing the game, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm in the movie, which is exactly what I asked. And right afterwards, there's so many games that came out, like Halo, and so many ones that Gears of War, all these games that were like similar to Starship Troopers, but they still weren't it. And I've always been asking for this. And now I have it, and I have it on, on acid. This is like incredible. It's on steroids or whatever you want to call it. It's just incredible.
You were saying before about games that have been inspired by Starship Troopers, but none of them have really captured that feeling. So you must have been so excited, like you say, to have been a part of this.
Yeah, I always go, oh my God, that's like Starship Troopers. Oh my God, that's like Starship Troopers. And then now I'm like, oh my God, this is Starship Troopers. It's just so exciting to have that, because they take all 5 movies and they take the bugs from all 5 and they throw in here, and then they've created new bugs, and they created some, the bugs have new armament on them or different things. They've added different things to them. So you have you're experiencing new levels of intensity within fighting these bugs. And now there are all these different things. You can be a ranger or a medic, and you have to work together in the team. And the thing that I love about Starship Troopers is we all work together as a team. We were like a family or a unit. We all did this. And we were always like, no man left behind. But we millions of us were getting killed in it. That's just what was happening. That's life. But we all were fighting for each other side by side. In this game, you're doing that too. And when you help out a trooper, when you help out another person, they give you rewards in this game. So this game really encourages you to try to work together and be a part of it. So for me, that's exciting, because these people, like, they made it really love Starship Troopers. And that to me was the best people to make it. I play right now. I go in as General J. Rico, all lowercase, and I Steam, and I go on, and people are surprised that it's me. But it is. But I love that they quote back. I love that they scream back the quotes to me, and when we're playing the game, you hear them too. People just going in there, like, they're yelling all different quotes. They medic, everything like that, and put your hand on the wall, I heard the other day. And I was just like, wow, because they were building the walls. You build the forts in this too. So for me, that was kind of surreal and intense as well.
I feel like that is a huge feature of this game, is that the extraction part of it, killing bugs, like you say, always good, but building the base to make sure that you've actually got a stronghold before the waves attack is a fantastic addition. Like, when you saw that for the first time, you're like, oh, why has this not been done before? Why is this, like, not in every style of game? Like,
so they've combined so many different kinds of games for, building things and killing bugs and finding things and going out on missions and then getting extraction. So they have so many different things they have.
There are people in this world who do not see Starship Troopers as satire. How does that make you feel? Because it is a film that resonates on so many different levels, but you must be a bit like, sorry, what?
The film is completely satire, but when I first said to them, I go, guys, this film, I mean, it's a little over the top, the satire, and they go, no, this is subtle. And I go, no, it's not subtle. Everybody's going to know it. And then when they didn't know it, when it first came out, I had to go back and apologize and go, you're right. I guess it is subtle, because people didn't know it was satire. When I first played this game, I got so excited because I saw all the bugs again, like I saw in the screen. But now I was able to see them live, and then they have new bugs and everything like that, and I was really great. And then I just started playing, they had this, I don't know if you played it, but they have Carnage.
Oh, I played this. Oh, with the bodies stacking up.
Yeah, the bodies stacking, and they don't disappear, and you can crawl on top of them, you can blow them up, and they're still there. You go away, you come back, they're all still there. You have to deal with the mess, and if you can blow it up, pieces go everywhere, but there's still things there.
Like, genuinely, I didn't believe that could be a feature, because I was like, the resources on this must be incredible, demanded. But then I saw it in real life, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
It's so cool, because every game I've ever played, they always disappeared, and you're like, oh, okay. But now that they don't, I'm like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be. So even that was really cool for me. And so for this small company that's doing this on a big level like this, I'm just so thrilled.
Brimstone 1, reload and rearm before heading out.
You can play Starship Troopers Extermination on Steam right now, or in October you can play it on PlayStation 5, Xbox, console, crossplay. It's going to be awesome. Listen up, all you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. You know what to do. Service guarantees citizenship. Welcome to the Roughnecks.
I'm here with the one and only Casper Van Dien, and I'm about to ask you a very serious question, my friend.
I'm ready for a serious question.
Now, we are looking to recruit a new brand of Rico's Roughnecks.
Oh, outstanding.
But we are only going to do it with video game characters. Mario or Sonic?
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. I mean, we always need plumbers and engineers and the troopers.
True.
Speed and brains that he's got, I'm going to have to go Sonic.
Go Sonic? Okay, then on to the next one. Pikachu or Pac-Man?
Oh, man, I used to play Pac-Man so much, but I know my kids love Pikachu, so I'm going to go with Pikachu.
He's got that fighter's edge, hasn't he, really? Next up, we've got Ace or Dizzy?
Oh, man, my best friend or my girl?
Ooh, a tough one, this one?
That's a choice. Well, seeing how she's dead, I'm going to have to say Ace.
Fair enough. I've depressed myself now doing that.
I know.
Sorry about that. That's on me. That's on me.
She's the most loyal one, though. I mean, they're both so. It's a hard one to say. You can't do that to her. You can't do that to him. I mean, she's R.I.P. Rest in peace. But he's still in the world. But she did come back for the 5. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
in
did.
the dream sequence.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And I wanted to, but they didn't get that. But maybe we'll get him in the game.
Oh. Shock, surprise.
Maybe.
We got next up Master Chief or Lara Croft.
Master Chief's pretty cool.
He is bloody cool.
I think we need more women in this world too, in power positions. So let's go with Lara, even though I'm a big fan of Master Chief.
Now here's the real question. Is it Carl or is it Barney?
It's got to be Carl for me.
Oh,
Barney's cool, but it's got to be Carl for me. Neil is such a great guy, and he would bring so much character to both. But Carl does have that he's got that psychic connection with me. We've never been able to let it go.
Fair enough. And then, this is the real question here, and maybe the entire reason I made this segment in the first place. Is it some kids doing their part, crushing cockroaches, or is it me? This 6 foot 1 tall glass of water over here.
I think we need some tall, handsome men there, bald men that are going to come in and kill some bugs. You look like you can kill them. They're too young.
Well, to be fair, they'd be in their they'd
probably be older than you right now.
Yeah, and
they'd probably be. It's 28 years ago.
Oh my God, it is as well.
It's 28 years ago. So I know one of the kids, that says I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
Is now a doctor.
Do you want to know the other real funny thing here is? I was actually one of those kids on that.
What?
No.
That would have been so amazing.
I was one of the cockroaches. So there we go. I've been selected. I've been selected. Finally, a childhood dream come true. Definitely not forced, and I'm definitely not sorry about it.
Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Oh, I've been waiting my entire life for this. Thank you so much, Mr. Van Deen.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, that was one of the best interviews I've ever done. Casper was such a lovely person to speak to, and that was a teenage wish fulfilled right there, I tell you.
But sadly, that's the end of our Gamescom coverage.
Wait, no, it's not. That's the end of our day 1 coverage. We've got day 2 coming tomorrow.
What?
Yeah. We've got more dev interviews, got more trailers to show people, we've got more updates to show people, loads of hands-on previews. Come on, man.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I better cancel that nudist Pokemon Go walking tour I had booked.
Yeah, you really should do what? Anyway, since you've been such an amazing audience, we got one more treat for you coming up right now.
Oh, that's non-refundable.
I don't want to see that.
Hi, I'm Fabio, and I'm CEO of Positrix Studios, and we are currently working on AILA.
My name is Rob. I am from Fireshine Games. I am a product manager on AILA.
AILA is a first-person game. It's a technological warhorse game to be set in a not-too-distant future. In the game, we play as Samuel. He's a games tester, and he receives this task of testing new warhorse experiences created by fictional AI character. We use this in-game VR worlds to kind of blur the lines between what is reality and what is virtually in someone's life.
This idea of playing as a game tester, I think, is something that's not that explored within video games much at all. And it's something that I think the video game community is becoming more and more aware of as part of the development process. So I think it's just super unique to put the player in that perspective where they are this kind of, as you say, meta inserted into like testing a game that you're playing that is a game. I think that's such a cool package to be wrapping it together.
Phobia was a great first step for us as a studio because it was our first game released and it had a great reception, but the idea on AILA is to go bigger. I think the idea on AILA is to take a step forward and establish ourselves and as unknown developers in the horror genre in general.
That's 100% one of the things that we thought when we were first getting involved with Positrix as a studio and with the project. We were like, okay, there's so much potential here. Phobia was a really, really strong first development title out of the gate, taking everything that they've learnt from that and then going bigger, going better, and then also going different was really important.
For the gameplay in general, we take a lot of reference from the classic horror games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Outlast, Layers of Fear, but we like to go on other media and take some references for the thematics, for the world building in general, for things like Black Mirror and Love, Death and Robots. On the game, we like to create a world of tension that carries from the virtual to Samuel's reality. And exploring this apartment after these experiences, we want it to be a tense and uneasy. I think Unreal 5 is kind of the top-notch in technology nowadays for realistic games. And we are a team that was already experienced working on Unreal Engine, so the idea to move for Unreal Engine 5 was kind of natural for us. And we are taking advantage of all these new technologies, of everything they offer to us, like MetaHuman, Lumen, and we are using all these technologies to create these immersive and realistic environments and scenarios. The idea is to take the player to the edge of horror and in a very realistic and immersive way. The most important for us is this different type of horrors that we are presenting throughout the game. Because one moment you'll be solving puzzles in an abandoned house, next you'll be running away from hunted demons, and next you'll be fighting medieval zombies with a longsword. And that's all the variety of gameplay we'll have inside the game, and we want to see how people will react to this. So it's very different gameplay styles, and I'm really excited to see what player will think about this.
We don't want to give too much away before people playing this, especially as straight from the outset there's an awful lot of twists and turns built into like the entire narrative, and also it's set up so you are going to question, okay, what is real, what is supposed to be the virtual. You always want to be a little bit on edge.
If you love Black Mirror and games like Resident Evil, Layers of Fear and Outlast, you love AILA. AILA is coming to Steam in 2025. You can wishlist the game now in Steam, and please join our Discord channels and follow us in our social media for more information.